Hi, Leo Augusto. My name is Maggie. I'm 11 years old and I live with my mom. Life here at home is simple, but we're close, right?
That's what matters. My mom works as a nurse at the city hospital and often does night shifts. I'm already used to the routine, but some nights can be harder than others. Hunger started to kick in, and I remembered how she always made a delicious cheese sandwich for me. But today she was taking longer than usual.
I looked at the toaster in the kitchen, an old and somewhat damaged appliance that my mom always told me not to use.
It had fallen on the floor once and the casing was all cracked and awkward. However, I was so hungry that I decided to give it a try. I thought it would be a simple task. Just put the bread with cheese, turn it on, and wait until it was nicely melted and tasty.
When I put the sandwich in the sandwich maker and tried to turn it on, nothing happened. The bread didn't heat up.
So I decided to remove the sandwich, but as soon as my hand touched the appliance, the lid suddenly closed, trapping my hand inside.
I tried to pull my hand out forcefully, but the lid seemed to be stuck.
That's when the sandwich maker turned on by itself and started heating up quickly.
I felt the ultra-hot plate starting to burn my hand, and even though I tried to pull the plug from the socket, nothing worked. I swore there was something pressing my hand against that plate. The heat was unbearable and the pain was intense, and I started to lose strength. Everything went dark, and from then on, I don't remember anything else. When I woke up, I was in the hospital with my mom by my side, visibly sad and worried. My hand was bandaged and the pain was still intense, but the scariest part was hearing what she told me.
She said that when she got home after her shift, she found me lying on the floor and came closer.
That's when she saw the sandwich maker open with a sandwich inside. But the bread had a mark of a burned hand, which was mine, and strangely, a bite in it, as if someone had eaten a part of it. To this day, I still don't know exactly what happened that night, how my hand got stuck there, and how it stayed hot even after unplugging it. Who or what bit the sandwich? These are mysteries that still haunt me and that I might never fully understand. And guys, I added Leo's store on WhatsApp, so I'll be sending you the list of available comics we have, alright? Good evening, Leo Augusto. I'm Ariadila, 37 years old. My children and I are your fans. I want to tell a story that happened to me when I was a child. At that time, I must have been about 7 and I still slept with my grandmother. My mother lived right next door, but at night I would run to sleep with my grandma. One night, my uncles went out to the backyard to get one of their toolboxes that had been left outside. It was already late at night. Binga was really tall, almost 2 meters high, and Zay went with him, who was really strong. There was a thicket in the backyard, and they started to hear the bushes moving. Thinking it could be a dog, they started throwing rocks into the bushes. Suddenly, they saw a huge black creature rising from the bushes, which they said looked like a pig. At that moment, the two of them started running fast to their house. The gate was heavy and big.
It was propped up with a large piece of wooden beam.
It was half open, and in their desperation, the two of them tried to squeeze through the gap in the gate at the same time. When they finally managed to squeeze in, the wood that was propping up the gate fell, man. It made a loud noise. At that moment, my grandma went to see what was happening and found them terrified by what they had seen. They told my grandma everything, and I was there on her bed listening to it all. I peeked through the window to see what was going on, really scared. I saw them running, and when I focused my eyes on the horizon, on the woods, I really saw something moving there. It looked like the back of the animal that was still there, rummaging through something. I got so scared that I covered myself from head to toe, even though it was really hot. I stayed like that the whole night. The next day, my clothes were soaked with sweat from being covered from head to toe. The next day, they went to the place to see if they could find any trace of that creature there, and they found a huge hoof print on the ground. There was a small farm nearby. And that night, the watchman said he fired shots at a creature that ran away. This became a topic in the neighborhood for a long time, and this event is still told from generation to generation. My children think it's just a legend, but I remember it like it was yesterday.
They said it was a werewolf, but we never really knew. What was that thing that my uncle saw? And the watchman at the farm saw it too. I hope you enjoyed this bizarre story from our subscribers. And if you want to send in a story to appear in this segment here, just send it to this email, inscritosleo@gmail.com. Alright? I'll stop here. Bye. Bizarre stories from people. Hey Leo Augusto, my name is Emily, and today I'm gonna tell you something scary that happened to me. A few days ago, I went with my family to my great-grandma's farm. I had never stayed there overnight. We always went and came back the same day, but this time we were gonna stay the whole weekend. When we arrived, it was already around 4 in the afternoon, and my great-grandma welcomed us and warned me and my brother not to leave our parents' side at night, because as soon as the sun went down and darkness came, he would be around there. We asked who he was, but my great-grandma just told us to be very careful. Be careful, my little grandchildren, because at night he walks around here. Don't go out without your parents, okay? Not without me, not without any adult around. Because if you don't, things could go wrong. If needed, keep the little potty by your bed to avoid going outside. It was already nighttime when Humberto, my younger brother, woke up, and he said he wanted to use the bathroom. The house was old and didn't have a bathroom inside, man. We had to go outside to a kind of cabin to do our business. So I left the room without waking up my parents, grabbed a flashlight and took Humberto so he could relieve himself, right? When we got there, I realized the bathroom was locked and I didn't know where the key was. So I took him to go in the bushes nearby instead. While he was finishing up, I looked around to see if there was anything strange. I got scared when I looked outside the fence and saw a tall, skinny man with a creepy smile and wide open eyes.
Ah, I screamed and pulled my brother, who had already finished, and we ran back home.
I told him what I had seen and we couldn't sleep well that night. The next night, I was the one who needed to go to the bathroom, but this time I knew where the key was. I had asked my grandma where it was, right? And she told me it was hanging behind the door. I went really scared, I left my little brother sleeping. The problem was mine and I had to deal with it. I walked slowly, looking all around. Everything was normal so far. When I was inside the bathroom relieving myself, I heard footsteps coming closer to me and creepy laughter. I knew it was that strange man. I quickly locked the door and stayed silent. I felt some banging on the door. It seemed like the whole structure was going to collapse. Open this door. Is anyone there? But I didn't make a sound. After about half an hour, he left. I ended up pooping myself out of fear. The next day, I asked my great-grandmother who he was, the man who walked around there at night. She told me it was the soul of a person who had worked on the farm taking care of the animals and had died a few years ago. After that, I called some of my cousins and Humberto to go to the fence where I had seen the man, and we saw a dead cow with scratch marks. Ah, my son, I stopped raising animals here because he eats everything, kills everything so bloodily. He goes and finishes off the animal. He probably fed on the animals, right? Or did he just do it for fun? I don't know, Leo. I just know that was wild. Hello, my name is Damiao and I want to share a story that completely changed my life, man.
I used to live with my mom in a small apartment, and whenever she complained about the mess I left in my room, I didn't really care.
My mom was always arguing with me because of the cookie crumbs on the floor, food crumbs scattered around. You know, man. And other leftovers that I left everywhere. I admit I didn't really worry about it. I always swept things up, so I was fine with it. She said it would attract bugs to my room, but I never listened, you know.
Until one day she stopped sweeping so I could learn my lesson, right?
Everything started to change one night, Leo, when I began to hear some strange noises while I was sleeping. I was woken up by mysterious sounds, but I was always too scared to look and see what it was. My heart was racing, but I forced myself to go back to sleep, believing it was just my imagination. But one night, everything felt more real. I woke up in a panic and saw a big shadow in the corner of my room. My body froze with fear. Man, I ran to call my mom. What is that? There's something in here. She came quickly, but when she looked around the room, she didn't find anything. What is this, my God? I saw that thing there. There was something, I'm sure. She said it could be cockroaches attracted by leftover food, but I didn't really believe it, you know, man. I saw a large shadow, which I thought was supernatural. A cockroach is too small. If it were just a venomous creature, that'd be okay, but I don't think that's the case. The situation got worse when one night I woke up with unbearable pain in my foot. Oh, my foot. I screamed desperately for my mom, who was walking down the hallway. She ran to turn on the light. When the light came on, we saw that my foot was bleeding a lot. I swore to her that it had been a giant rat
That bit me. She seemed skeptical, but when we looked under the bed,
We found a hole about 40 centimeters in diameter. My foot swelled up very quickly, and I had to get several injections, man. The doctor said that if I had waited any longer to get treated, I could have lost a limb. She spoke to the building manager about the incident and found it very odd, because that hole led to an abandoned floor in the building that was only used to store junk.
Since that night, I haven't been able to sleep alone in my room anymore.
My mom ended up letting me sleep with her because of that, but
Man, I really saw in that darkness an animal that looked like a rat biting my finger, I swear. Bizarre stories from the subscribers. Hello, I'm Gregory, an 11-year-old boy, and I saw something bizarre happen at school. Last semester, my teacher Carolina went on maternity leave. In her place, a substitute teacher named Dennis came in. He was quite different from the other teachers. He always wore black clothes, sunglasses, and had really long hair, looking like a rocker. The most curious thing was that I felt like I had seen Dennis somewhere before. Everything seemed normal until one day during recess I saw Dennis coming from the back of the school, a place where students weren't allowed to go. Last year I had jumped over the wall and gone there secretly, and I knew there were only trees in that place. Dennis was carrying a black umbrella, apparently protecting himself from the sun, which stuck in my mind. It was time for his class, and at one point one of the girls came over to ask a question. But he started acting strange and told her to sit down right away, saying he would help her later. That day he left the classroom and never came back. Days went by, and out of curiosity, I went to the forbidden place where I had seen the teacher. That's when I discovered something disturbing. In the middle of the trees, there were some concrete structures. I saw what looked like a lid move, and from inside came Dennis, sneaky, as if he didn't want to be seen. After about 10 minutes frozen behind the tree, I went over there to take a look, man. I thought it was a sewer box, but actually it was a tombstone, man. There were 2 of them there. Dennis's photo was on one of them, and he had the school's last name. Did this guy already die and come back to teach us? So I went to ask the principal what was going on. The principal greeted me with a curious look when I entered her office. I took a deep breath and told her everything I had seen. Her eyes widened, but she kept her composure and asked me to wait there while she checked something.
After a few minutes that felt like hours, she came back with a serious expression and told me that Dennis's last name really was the same as the school's because he was the founder's grandson. She explained that Dennis had died a few years ago in a mysterious accident. The principal asked me to keep what I saw a secret, saying she would investigate the situation. In the following days, the atmosphere at the school became even more sinister. Dennis continued teaching, but his bizarre behaviors became more frequent. He always avoided sunlight, closed the windows in every classroom, and his gaze seemed more and more empty and frightening. Then, something even more disturbing happened. The principal, while investigating Dennis's story, suffered a mysterious accident. She was found unconscious at the back of the school, exactly where I had seen him come out of that tombstone, man. No one seemed to want to talk about it. A few days later, a new principal took over. She was an older, overweight woman with the same last name as Dennis. Her name was Matilda. As soon as she arrived, the school started to change. The walls seemed darker, the hallways colder, and there were no more sunny days in that place. Matilda's presence was oppressive. She seemed to know everything that happened at the school and somehow was always one step ahead of any attempt at investigation or questioning. I started to notice that some kids would disappear for days, and when they came back, they were different. They had red marks on their necks, wrists, and other parts of their bodies. Their eyes were empty, and they acted strangely, as if they were under some kind of control. However, before I could continue my investigation, my family moved to another city. So I left the school, right? I don't know how things are over there these days, but I hope they've gotten better. It all started when I decided to try something from an acquaintance at a party. I didn't have the courage to approach a girl, so I resorted to that. Damn the night I made that decision. Since I was a foreigner, I was a bit afraid to speak another language and have a relationship there. I was a healthy young man, full of energy, but that was the beginning of the abyss. So, when I blinked, I had already been living that life for a few months, similar to that of a beggar. I used to wander the streets of Las Vegas, the city that never sleeps, but where darkness lurks in the most unexpected corners. My life was chaos, fueled by the stops that kept me captive, you know? When I could no longer keep myself afloat, I found refuge in the city's sewer tunnels. An underworld where society preferred not to think about. In the tunnels, I met a man whom I thought was my companion in misfortune. We lived as partners, collecting supplies and sharing the little we could find. Hey brother, one more shot for you, just go for it, it's easy. You can pay me back later, man, it's all good. But something was wrong. There was something supernatural about the way he moved. His eyes glowed in the darkness in a way I had never seen before. I didn't want to believe it, but the truth revealed itself to me in a terrifying way. One night I woke up from a restless sleep to find him. That's when I saw him. He was blacker than the darkness itself. He hovered over me. His face was distorted, the pure embodiment of a demon. I tried to get away, but it was already too late. He told me I had a debt to pay with him. With one blow, he tore out my left eye. You owe me, and I'm going to take an eye from you. It's my fair payment. The pain was unbearable, but the terror of knowing I was living next to a demon was even worse. From that moment on, my life in the tunnels became a constant nightmare. The stops were no longer enough to keep fear and paranoia away, and on a hellish night, more demons appeared. When I woke up and saw that, man, I didn't have any skin left. I was bleeding on the verge of death, and I had no idea how I would survive. Me, since I was always high, I couldn't feel, man, what happened. Miraculously, someone found me there in those tunnels, collapsed, and took me to the hospital. I think it was someone from some rehab center who found me there and tried to save me. I just remember that at the hospital I was rejected because I didn't have any documents and I ended up on the streets like that.
A man broken physically and spiritually. Surviving was a mystery.
But I made it, Leo. Day after day I picked myself up. Now in 2024 my life has turned around. Somehow I managed to get off the streets and enter a rehabilitation program.
It's not easy, but I'm clean. I'm trying to rebuild what's left of my life.
The scars, both physical and emotional, are constant reminders of my days in those tunnels and of the demons I faced. I share my story so that others know that even in the depths of hell,
there is a chance for redemption. The path is hard, but I am proving it every day that it is possible. Even today, I keep wondering if that person I was with, if it really was a demon, or if it was just a result of the drugs I was using there. But either way,
I never want to hear about that again, Leo. Thanks. I hope you guys enjoyed this bizarre subscriber story. And if you want to send in a story to appear in this segment here,
send it to inscritosleo@gmail.com, okay?
I'm going to wrap it up here, okay? Bye.